I bet you didn't know I was smoking. All right, guys, it's Brendan. Welcome back to the channel, and we are going to be installing the Holy Smokes smoke system on this super Decathlon that I have behind me. Now, the Decathlon is from Gator Rc. You can check them out over at www.gator-rc.com. This Holy Smokes smoke system you can check out over at www.holysmokesrc.com. Let's show you how we are going to install the smoke system. So here is our test bed, the 122-inch Super Decathlon with a DA100 running the regular muffler system on this. I wanted to say canister, but probably not the best word for it. Anyway, where do we start? So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove the tap screws that were in the side. We are going to take a 10-30 seconds tap, and we are going to run it down through those holes. Most of the time you would put a little bit of grease in a tap in the flutes or oil that would help to trap all that debris. This system's pretty open, and we'll make sure it's cleaned out. It's soft aluminum, so I'm not worried about breaking the tap. Plus, it's not all that thick. So we are going to be installing out here the Smokin' Okies injector, and we need to tap those back, both out. 10-30 seconds. Let's get to it. Now, tapping those out was pretty easy. If you didn't have holes already in there, you want to find the hottest spot of that muffler, which if you look the way the exhaust is going to travel through there, usually straight down is going to be your hottest spot. So as we install these injectors here, we're using the pre-drilled holes. These Smokin' Okies have this little metered orifice there that this guy makes. And when you install them, that will face down and basically hit this hot surface. So where that spray bar is, he has them scribed at the bottom in order to spray down in that direction, so you know. Again, if your mufflers didn't have this, you're going to have to drill that out to the appropriate size. It is listed in the directions. It's fairly simple. So first thing we're going to do is start with these jam nuts all the way up, now that we have that tapped out. And let's just make sure that that thing threads in there. We don't have any burrs or anything. So now that that's good, we'll take it out, and we're going to grab some high temperature thread locker. So let me grab that. All right, so now we have ourselves some high temp thread locker, and what we're going to do is we're going to make sure these jam nuts are backed as far as we can get them. Now on this one, there's a little bit of red Loctite on there, so that's as far out as that one will come. I don't want to put the thread locker on there now and then have it go down into that orifice. So we're going to start both of those just so, and again, the nozzle is right by that scribe line. We're going to start both of those in far enough that the nozzle is inside the muffler. So any of the Loctite that I put on this system does not go down in that nozzle. So I'll thread both of those in. And from here, we're going to go ahead and put a decent coating. And I just saw this on Facebook. If you guys don't know, be careful what you get Loctite on. Loctite is not plastic or rubber friendly. It does eat it, does dissolve it, and does ruin things. So from here, we're going to go ahead and put a nice liberal coat of high temp Loctite on here. We're going to do the same on this one. And now we're just going to take that thing and thread that all the way down through. We can put those in there pretty far. We'll make sure that they're both about the same so we get equal smoke penetration out. And from here you can take, in this case I'm going to use this thing, and I want to put some Loctite under that jam nut on there. And we'll go ahead and thread this one in. And again, keeping them the same, but we want to make sure our scribe line is down. And let's make sure that we got some Loctite up under that jam nut. there, up there. And now let's go ahead and get that lower jam nut moving. And again, don't overkill it. I mean, you're tightening this into aluminum, and the last thing you want to do is strip something, because then you're stuck. And then this is just the jam nut to make sure the other one don't come loose. And there you have nozzle installation number 1. All right, guys, and that's it for this step. We got our smoking okies installed. The next step in running our smoke system is to get the plumbing installed on the outside. So here you can see we're using the high temp Viton that will attach to the fittings right here on your mufflers, and for that we are going to be using spring clamps to hold them on. You can also use shrink tube is what's recommended. As far as the plumbing coming off of the little Y fitting right here into our check valves, and the check valves are notated here with arrows. That way your system stays primed. It doesn't let any of that backflow coming back into the engine, also for exhaust. But this tube right here can be your regular Tygon that branches off into the check valves. And I still have the other one to run onto the other side. Those will come up to our mufflers. Now, one of the things about this system, in order to get a nice even smoke flow, these must be the same length. So if you trim one, you got to trim the other. If you got to leave one long, make sure the other one stays long, but you need them to be equal. So I'm waiting for some of these. I'm officially out of them. I've used just regular zip ties here. You can use spring clamps, you can use twist wire, whatever works for you and whatever your preference is. I like using zip ties for that stuff. Otherwise, as soon as we get the other one in, we will get that stuff hooked up to our mufflers. And now it's time to go inside to continue on with the smoke system. Continuing with the smoke install, so this line right here is going to be running back to the pump. So I left it really long, as you can see, because we need to figure out exactly where it's going to be plumbed, how far it's going to go, so forth and so on. This hole right here is center of gravity recommendation. So I would like to keep that tank right here. So that way, as it empties, we don't have a CG change. Now, the fuel tank is ahead of the CG, and there's not a whole lot we can do about that. It almost guarantees you'll always be nose heavy, I guess, which is okay. The smoke pump is recommended to be mounted vertically. So your input and output tubes right here run front to back. That's a nice platform. Ideally, I would like it to be right there, and I still just may make a wood platform for that thing to bring it close, but ultimately whether it's here nor there, that extra inch, I guess, doesn't matter to me a whole lot. Everything should stay primed and full of smoke fluid once you turn it on for the first time. So either way, that's going to be that location. That's going to be the pump. Our tubing will cut probably about 6 inches longer than what it is right here, so I have room to work. But I'm going to do something with this flooring, and I'm also painting down there should I ever have a spill. I don't want it to soak into the wood. So we are going to paint or seal one or the other, all of that wood down below, and then I'm actually getting some green carbon vinyl to place up here, which is going to really dress up that whole inside look a little bit. And with that stuff down there being painted, we'll kind of assure that, you know, I've sealed things the best that I can. Otherwise, that stuff's not here yet, so we're going to take a break doing any of the install until we get that floor painted and we get this stuff covered. For the next part of our smoke system install, we've gone ahead and installed the Holy Smoke smoke pump down there on the carbon rails, and they're epoxied into place. We went ahead and we put in our, there's a 2-wire lead right there that runs up to whatever channel on the receiver you're going to use, and we wired in power through another connector, which is post switch. So that means that we can monitor milliamp usage out of the pack. You can run a separate battery if you want to, which I was going to, but then you'd need another switch because the ESC will beep once it sees that it has power and no throttle signal. So anyway, we have our power lead run down there. We have our channel run down there to it. That thing's installed. We've made our brackets and our shelves for our pump. We are using a clear tank. The taker inner, putter outer, putter inner, taker outer tube in there runs. I took it off their factory one, and I put in one here that on a tail dragger will reach the back because it sits this way. Their tube only comes down to what would be the front, so it makes it hard getting everything in and out. One of the other things that I do is I put shrink tube around the cap. That keeps the cap from ever leaking or coming loose. And then we have our vent system. So we will go ahead and install this here, and we will place our Velcro around it. Our pump is located lower than here, so it'll stay primed all the time. They recommend on a at the very least you put it behind, but below is just as good. We have our fills. I don't like putting them on the outside because I have a door here that I can open. I'm going to put them right here. So this is going to be my smoke fill and then my fuel fill right here. So we're going to get those lines installed now for the pump. That front one is marked out, and you have to be careful when you go to take the tubing off. You must cut it when you go to put tubing on, or take the tubing off when you put it on, because you don't want to break the nipples. So as far as the plumbing goes, so the vent will come in. The vent runs all the way out there to the nose. The vent will circle around the top of the tank and then get fastened here. This part is the feed tube for the pump. So this front nipple goes down to the pump on the back fitting. The front fitting will come off with the tube that will run up to ultimately our check valves. Now we do have to go ahead and put the filter. We need to make sure that we filter everything from going into the pump. We need to protect that pump from getting any junk stuck in it. We are going to use the supplied filter in line to do so. So let's go ahead and start getting that stuff installed. So as we take a look at our 3-point curve mix here, if you will, when the throttle is all the way down, we are at 125%. So that is completely off, 100%, nothing going down to that pump. As we go into what is going to be off our idle position, we don't actually start to turn the pump on yet until we start to actually come off of idle. So with the engine running, I fine-tuned this scale, and then as you go to wide open throttle, you can see that slider go up there. Now that is full pump authority. So you can also do this here at the top end of the scale. You can change the curve, if you will, of this whole thing by simply coming back and changing now in your servo setup. If we go into our model servo setup and we go to smoke, up here at the very top scale, you can see how that goes up to 100%. I can actually take that now and dial that all the way up to 150% by changing that max limit. So I can actually just curve off how much fluid I want actually in that exhaust system. And the reason you do this is so that way your exhaust system doesn't spit out a whole bunch of oil out of the bottom of it, because you're not burning it. You only want to put in what it can handle. So from wide open throttle, you can go ahead and then just simply adjust this, and you'll notice the scale at the top moves as I set that max positive limit, which is ultimately where the pump needs to be in a positive number at the end of the day to make all this work right. So now you can just fine tune exactly how much smoke, and it'll change that curve respectively. All right, my smoke system guys, We're in the garage. It's time to go ahead and throw on our mufflers. We're going to hook up our tubing to our smoke and okies. You can see how we have our check valves held into place there and there. We have our vent installed for our vent for our tank. And we're going to go ahead and put the mufflers on there. And once that's all hooked up and we know that everything on the engine runs well, we're going to throw the smoke to it. And we're going to adjust a mix so that way we're not over smoking the system at idle. But let's go ahead and time lapse it. So here's my setup for my smoke system, just a simple hand crank pump. I do have a filtered clunk in here, so anything I pull out is filtered there. And then we just pop this nozzle apart and we will go ahead and fill up our plane. All right, that's all the smoke fluid we need. Let's get her fired up.
Motor throttle kill. Motor throttle active.
That was just plain crazy. All right, guys, so that ends this section on the Seagull's model 122-inch Super Decathlon from Gator Rc. Gator Rc carries a wide variety of balsa ARFs, whether you're looking for stuff slow, small, low-key, biplanes, aerobatic planes, warbirds. They got some top RC models, Seagull's models. They got all kinds of stuff over there that you got to go over to their website, check them out, www.gator-rc.com. Link down in the description below for all of this stuff. But if you're interested in any of those items, you know, they got servos, a great King Max line there as well. They have a lot of your different radio and transmitter choices, engine choices. You can pretty much will pick up everything you possibly imagine right there at Gator Rc. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this section. It's Brendan here at Just Plain Crazy. You guys are just plain crazy for hanging out and watching. If you liked it, smash that thumbs up button. It helps us out a lot. If you're going to hit that thumbs down button, do it twice. And understand, now on YouTube, nobody gets to see how many dislikes we got anyway. That's only us. So don't hurt my feelings. With that being said, like, share, subscribe, all of that cool shameless stuff. I wish you guys happy flights. Peace out.